I think we can go ahead and start. Zero said he's going to attend in person, but he's not here yet, but we'll just welcome him when he comes in. Right. So we can go through roll call. We can do that by voice. We'll start on Zoom with Cammie.
I'm here.
Jason is here. Todd here. Sharon.
Here.
Robert here. And so far, we're missing Aaron, Tyler, and Zero.
So how are we doing on a quorum? Can we meet?
Yeah, I mean, you have eight members, not nine. Yeah. Yeah, 8 members, 50% is 4 in person, and then the 5th member is Cammie. So that's 5 out of 8. Yeah, quorum is 50% plus 1, and the open door law is 50% in person.
Okay, we just.
So we put the items on the agenda that we think are important to cover. But taking a look at the agenda, is there anything else that we want to add or adjust? Good. Did everybody get a chance to look through the minutes? Do we want to take a little bit to look through and see if they're good, or if we need to make adjustments now?
And I included a lot of sets of minutes in this, so I apologize. There's a lot. I could not, there were several minutes missing on the website. And so I found them. I found some of them in our drive where we keep the documents for this commission, and then others I had to create. So I compiled them. I don't know if you've approved like the May ones before. It doesn't look like you did. So I just put them all in here in the hopes that that you'd be able to approve them so they can go up on the website.
Good.
Or if there are any changes that need to be made, of course.
Mostly like some of them are ever so slightly out of order, so make sure.
Yes, they're out of order in the packet, but they're separate documents.
Right.
Yeah. I just combined them into one PDF.
Yeah, I just didn't know people that like think got skipped because I'm scrolling down.
Yeah, I think December came first for some reason. But that is your most recent meeting that you had, so.
I have to say the minutes from the last meeting were very detailed. You got everything that anyone said.
If it sounds weird, I didn't have time to make them shorter.
Yeah.
I understand that's true.
Yes.
If we approve these, they'll go up on the website, and if we went back over them and found things that we wanted to change, could we do that?
Yes, so you could have someone move to get them approved today. They get approved, get up on the website. For some reason you find an error, you can have them be amended. But if you didn't want to approve them today, wait, another month, that's fine too. But it was one of those things where I saw that there were a lot missing, and I was just kind of thinking like, wow, these need to be put up on the website. It's important. So it's not necessarily urgent as much as just I wanted to make sure kind of, especially because we're at the beginning of the year, trying to figure out, where things fell through the cracks at the end of last year and try to get things in order.
What are you all feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, just glancing at them so far, I'm okay, especially with the more recent ones since I've joined up. I'm okay with moving to approve them.
Yeah, I read them all and I can't remember, I can't remember everything that we said, so.
It's helpful to have that.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second,
Do we have to go around and vote?
A roll call, yeah.
Todd?
Yes.
Sharon?
Yeah,
Robert?
yes,
Cammy?
Yes,
And I will vote yes as well. Right, so those are approved. Alright, reports, so we'll start with co-chairs, that's us.
Yep.
Todd, do you have anything?
Yeah, so my admission seat expires at the end of the month and I'm not reapplying for admission. I have a new job now, but I left a law firm and now to open my own business, which is a breakfast food business, but now my new job, I'm a breakfast chef for a fraternity. My hours are like 6 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
Mhm.
And so this is like, yeah, it's just, it would be tough. It would be tough to like keep that up. And I want you to do, yeah, I feel like as a co-chair, like I really need to be more involved. And I do want to say though that like, I've been present in most of the meetings and I do want to say that to everyone that I've met and all the commission members, thank you so much. I wanted to, wanted to do more, but I'm really thankful for the opportunity to be here. And yeah, that's all.
Yeah. Thanks for letting us know.
thank
And
you.
I will say as a personal perspective, not as a co-chair, that I appreciate your perspective, especially when you disagree. Because when we're all agreeing, that's not a discussion, but when you've
Yeah.
offered alternative perspectives, it helps us to talk through them, so
Great. Well, thank you.
you've been very valuable.
thank you for your service. I've appreciated your time on the commission and I've learned a lot from you.
I appreciate it, Tammy. Thank you. Likewise.
And they're open meetings, so you're always welcome to come back
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
as a member of the public.
yeah,
You'll just be limited to public comment. Todd.
Yeah. yeah.
Well, as the other co-chair, I suppose I can report. So I participated in, the Stride Center visit, as did Robert. We'll touch on that later. But I think that's good. Having been on the commission for several years, I think it's things like that that give us perspective and allow us to think about what the community actually needs by connecting with people in the community. And I'd heard of the Stride Center in our outreach to the community. People had talked about the Stride Center, but I never actually visited. So I think it was kind of critical to help us to determine what our next steps are. And I wanted to thank Sharon for making that visit possible. We'll touch on that later. In addition, I've taken on a job as at Beacon. I was just volunteering there, but now I'm a part-time caseworker. So I'm kind of seeing the inside workings of a nonprofit and the constraints. So in our outreach, what we had suggested was the creation of a new department to help coordinate different entities working in the city. And then in the consensus building activities that the commission or the city council held, there was talk that didn't need to happen, that they're already working together. But I'm seeing inside that there are tensions, right? So something needs to be done. And so we've been focusing on people with lived experience, but I think we still need to continue to visit places like the Stride Center and talk and be in open conversation, and continue to push for more coordination, because when there's just a sense that they're coordinating fine the way they are, but they're not actually, I think it's kind of our task to see how that allows the communities that we're tasked with representing, how they're not served by that. So in the continued work through our committees, I think we can collectively come up with things that we can do within our constraints, because we can only propose things to the council, but taking on this job has given me a personal perspective in how our work can matter. So hope to be able to bring that, not just as the co-chair, but as also as a participant.
Yeah, and you definitely have more insight now that you're kind of on the inside of it.
Yeah. So that's kind of inflecting the way I'm operating as co-chair until the end of my term. But we can move to individual members. So that was kind of individual, reporting on that. Does anybody else have things that you'd like to bring in?
Can we back up a minute and ask, are we gonna need another to replace Todd?
So the way that works, that'll be a vacant seat. And the council is tasked with filling those vacant seats under local code. So under local code, I believe the council is responsible for filling all 11 seats. It's not split between mayor and council. So the way that process works, folks apply for the open position, and the way that you all did, you get contacted by someone from the clerk's office. I believe at this point, the deputy clerk of communications and outreach, I think that's her title now, Jennifer Crossley, she gets in touch with folks. The interview committee team, so 3 council members, interview prospective folks, and then they make recommendations to the full council as to who they want to put on those seats, and then the full council makes a vote at a regular council meeting.
The co-chair, like filling the actual co-chair position is a different process, which I don't
That's
know.
internal to the tax commission. Yes.
Yeah, so I think that we definitely would want to somehow communicate this, especially for the members that are absent.
So yes, a co-chair doesn't like stay with the seat that's vacant, if that makes sense. So you'll have one co-chair right now, you'll need to elect another one. You can do that at today's meeting if you wish, or you could do that at the next meeting, since Todd will be filling out his co-chair meeting until the end of this meeting. But
And maybe we need to like codify that in the bylaws. Maybe we need to put something in the bylaws about that. I'm not even sure if the bylaws say anything about co-chairs.
Yeah, Isabel P. Smith was saying something about how the way we've been operating.
Rating.
Right.
I think you might want to wait to discuss. Do we have like all other members present? If there's people that aren't here, then like, and sure. As long as everybody's here for sure, but like if there's anyone missing, then I just would want to wait until they have a chance to say they want to be a co-chair.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I'm not saying we should choose another co-chair.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, if you say we
I'm just saying
can,
we need to
it sounds
put
like a
it
good
on
idea,
us.
but yeah.
It's just something that just since it came up, I thought I'd mention it because we still haven't done anything about it.
Yeah,
Because that's been the way it's been operating, but it's not yet codified, right?
right. I will say that if we don't elect a co-chair today, then the next meeting I will be the sole chair.
Yeah.
So,
And then there's the issue of keeping a quorum and able to select the next one.
Yeah.
So who is absent with one?
Tyler Schaefer, I believe, and his seat is also expiring. He has not responded to emails about whether he's going to reapply for consideration of appointment.
And now that Aaron is here, he's the only one absent.
Yeah.
I would suggest it might be in our interest to elect another co-chair. That's how we're gonna function.
Yeah, at this point, I would agree with that.
Aaron, Todd said his term is up at the end of the month. And he's not gonna renew, he's not gonna stay on the commission. So that's why we would.
Thank you for providing that context for this discussion.
Co-chairs.
Much less ominous.
And mine expires, but I'm reapplying.
Okay.
Mine expires, but I reapplied.
Yours is like.
Yeah, I just got on and it was
So maybe
It happened.
very end of the term.
So if the,
There's four of us, I don't know who the other three.
the seats themselves have the terms,
Oh.
attached to them. So if you are appointed to a seat that has a 2-year term expiring in 2 months, it's attached to the seat. And if they have to, according to state and local code, have varying what is the word?
Staggered.
Staggered terms, yes, yes. So some expire this year, some expire next year, some expire the year after. So it's staggered to comply with state and local code. So it's, yeah. Yeah, so yours is not expiring. Staff will reach out to you if your term is about to expire to make sure you know.
All right.
Yeah.
So would anybody be interested in being a co-chair? I mean, I would stay on.
Yeah. Is that something that gets appended in new business? Like, are we wanting to finish up with the reports and everything like that first? Or
Yeah, we could do that.
It is.
so do we want to push that off to new business? I guess is what I'm proposing.
Are you basically moving to amend the agenda to put that on the
I'm
business?
moving to amend the agenda to make that new business. Yeah, co-chair election.
Seconded.
Is that something we have to do a roll call vote or?
Sorry,
That's
all the
okay.
names, so I can get a tally of.
Yeah,
Fair enough. Todd,
Yes.
Aaron,
Yes.
Zero,
Yes.
Sharon,
Yes.
Robert,
yes.
Tammy,
Yes.
I say yes as well. All right, that's amended. We'll touch base on that in new business. Thank you. Robert, rule supporter. All right, and so none of the committees actually met as committees. We'll talk about that more when we get to the old business, connecting with that. Just a teaser for that. I'm going to suggest that people take ownership, and I can, as a seasoned member, Cami and I can help guide. But being co-chair and taking on a new job, I can't also chair all the committees. So I guess we can move to staff.
Okay, I will give a brief summary. So I am assisting with the tax commission again. Colleen Williamson has changed positions within the city. She still works for the city, but is now in the clerk's office and not council staff. And under local code, council staff gives the support to this commission. The other thing is, I saw in your last meeting that you all wanted to reach out to Jennifer Crossley within the clerk's office. I sent her a message. She is aware and she's going to reach out. I caught her today. She said she might stop by, but she has a meeting that conflicts with this. So she may stop by after if it gets done early. The only other thing I wanted to touch on, like I mentioned at the beginning, was trying to clean up things from last year, make sure that things aren't falling through the cracks. there are a few meeting memos from last year that were missing from certain committees. It basically, meeting memos are you say the date, time, place of the meeting, who showed up virtually versus in person, who didn't show up, and like a note of, what votes were taken. Some of you who are familiar with committee work know that's how, you have to write that. It's very like a one pager. It's required by state code. A few of them are missing. So if you do have copies of some of those from, I think there's several from Outreach Committee and one from Violent Suppression of Protests Committee. I think I can get in touch with folks, but I want to make sure those get up on the website. So that was, what I have.
You might also want to contact Najla.
She might have those.
Yeah,
And I'm assuming if we do have meetings like that, we could put those notes in the shared Google Drive and
Yes.
then notify.
Let me know, because
Yeah.
I don't get notified when anything happens in the drive.
Yeah.
I just kind of look at it and go, oh, I guess stuff has happened. But that could be a good way to make sure, because we just need to comply with putting them up on the website.
Mhm.
Thank you, Ash. Now we can move to public comment. So we have members of the public in person. It looks like we also might have some online.
Alright, let's see. Well, let's see. This person, that was one person online.
If any members of the public would like to make comment, now is,
It's not really honest. I'm curious, will this meeting be posted online, like the video or a transcript or anything? This is that needs to report on it by midnight. That's not a question.
yeah, for sure.
I'm not sure if it'll be posted, like, sometimes Cats TV is actually in the meeting right now, so they might be recording it and might get it posted on the website. Not our website, but the Cats TV website. I don't know how quickly they do that. We do have a recording that we keep on our Zoom account, council staff Zoom account, so.
You can share that.
I could do that, yeah,
Thank you so much.
yeah, because we don't post the recordings on our website, it would take up too much space.
Well, they've also been uploaded to the City of Bloomington YouTube channel as well. I don't
They
know.
uploaded immediately though, because I need it tonight.
Yeah.
I don't know, yeah, I think Cats is in charge of it.
Yeah, we're both in the same.
Oh,
class.
okay.
That's why we're here.
There we go.
So yeah, after the meeting, you can, I can get your emails and then.
Oh,
send
that'd
it
be
to you.
great. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just curious what platform.
It's public affairs reporting. It's a grad level class, and we need to go to town meetings and write reports on them, like spot reporting, and submit them the night of. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's what we're here.
Welcome.
What's your name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, thank you for choosing our commission.
And so what Kat's recording is the Zoom?
Cats is present in Zoom, meaning that they might be, recording this and putting it up on their page later. They don't always come to these meetings, but sometimes they do. So I think your last several meetings they did come. I think some of them actually like came downstairs with their setup. I think I remember seeing them set up. a few
Yeah, that's
times.
why I was late. I was down there in the room and talking to them.
Yeah,
Then find out, oh, we're upstairs.
yeah, it switched to the Allison room this time.
So
because that
they're
room was
in
reserved.
Yeah, they're filming one at 5 down there. Some aspect of Kat's, okay.
Well, I think we still need to open that for possible Zoom public comments, perhaps.
So if anybody online would like to make a comment, you can type it in the chat, or, raise your hand. Barring comment on Zoom, we can move on. All right, so to return to old business, there's the discussion of the committee, our committees. So we talked about outreach and research. The minutes remind me that I commented on how we had a kind of defunct housing committee. which is also attached to item C. But I guess I'd just like to open it up to discussion about what seems promising to all of you, who haven't participated on the committees in the past. And what you think is important for us to focus on.
So I advocated that we rejuvenate, start the housing committee. It's also in the previous minutes. And my emphasis is on eco-design as the way to achieve cost of living savings and autonomy, sovereignty of the situation, and to build in jobs programs. And the report that the CAPS Commission put out before about housing talked about how, requiring some percentage or so many few units for a developer to devote to low income is not getting ahead of the affordability or access problem, and that the city actually needs to develop a complex that is actually oriented to low cost situation in order to kind of even the housing situation out. And the Hopewell development is straying away from that, going toward higher income situation, and that's right downtown. So I think if we could advocate toward pulling that back down to earth a bit, for people that don't have cars to be living right on the Beeline Trail, instead of what they're going up to calling workforce housing. And they're going to have some aspect, but again, it's going to be this piecemeal percentage, and a lot of complexes actually kind of just keep those units vacant, or once they get filled, they're filled. So it's kind of like they're not really on the market, because people cling to those when they can get them. So I think we need to push for something that is a little more devoted to head on addressing that problem, and not just a little around the edges for the typical developer.
Yeah, and I think that's a good approach. Another approach that we took in the report was the root cause analysis. So I think it would be compelling if we showed this isn't just serving these people, but it's, as you say, it's not addressing the root cause. It's just operating the same way that we have. And that's well within what we are tasked with doing, is exposing those things. Not to put you on the spot, but would you be willing to chair that committee?
Definitely, yes.
Excellent.
And then there's the issue kind of overlapping with the outreach, the way you guys are supposed to be parameters for when we interact with. I'm also on the Sustainability Commission, and for the eco element of that, if we could be in coordination with the Sustainability Commission, so I could draft something and then everybody could approve, I guess, for our direct form of outreach to them for possible collaboration, and maybe co-creating a document with council and mayor.
Yeah.
And then, the Hopewell development, the other thing is that that's a city developed entity. So should be more purview and control.
Right.
And our advice to the city, probably more relevant as far as potential impact in the near term.
Other perspectives on outreach? Maybe considering other things than housing as well. Initially, a lot of the outreach we were doing was for the reports, so trying to reach out to the different communities that we're representing. Are there other kinds of communities that you think we should be focusing on to get a perspective from that informs our work?
Well, I've been thinking, I was thinking even before, when I first got on the commission, but now even more, that maybe I could go to some meetings for the Hispanic Commission. Is there
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly what it's called, but there's a commission particularly for Hispanic people or Spanish speaking, something like that. And I know we talked about collaborating with other commissions. Does that sound,
Commission on Hispanic and Latino Affairs.
okay, that's it. But maybe even more now, I cringe when I say it, but maybe now?
Yeah, because of the
I see what you're
deportation
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah. Maybe that would, how do I say, there could be collaboration, maybe. We could say that this is a population that needs,
Support and,
support
yeah,
from public.
Advocacy against federal targeting.
I
right,
don't know, something.
Yeah. trying to figure out.
But I'm not sure when their meetings are, but if that seems like a logical thing,
Yeah,
I'm like.
and when we were doing our outreach, that was one of the commissions that I visited. Yeah, and they seem very amenable and open to things, and I think that's a good idea. Like, would you be willing to chair that commission or committee, to kind of guide that? I'd be happy to participate.
I mean, truthfully, I haven't looked into it,
Yeah.
so I don't know what kind of issues they deal with.
Yeah, and in terms of reaching out to other missions, that hearing back from Jennifer Crossley would help guide us, because the structures are different than they were when we were doing outreach, so we're all kind of fresh in that. But yeah, I'd be happy to support you if you'd be willing to chair. Okay.
And so as far as these chair positions, we put that into the business as well, to affirm.
To vote on it and for us to all approve it.
Like here in this meeting, chair of housing. Chair of outreach.
Gosh.
I think, I mean, in the past, some folks have volunteered to chair committees. You can certainly, hold a vote if you think that it's important. But I know if you are also operating, according to past practice, I think at some point, some folks were just kind of volunteering to, I'll chair this committee, and folks were in agreement. But of course, if you wanna take, votes on who gets to chair, especially if, folks have a disagreement about it, you might not have that come to a vote. But if I'm hearing correctly, it sounds like, this is for the outreach. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And committees have less constraint than the whole body, right? So like in terms of, the meetings still have to be noticed, right? But it's not as,
It's not as formal.
right,
Yeah, I mean, this kind of meeting is not as formal either as something like a council meeting. But, yeah, you just have to have the memorandum with the date, time, place, what happened and the meeting notice. I think also, of course, you can always do outreach without forming a committee if you don't need to. But, just be wary of, how many folks are getting together. If it ends up being, a quorum of members, you're not gonna wanna, do business outside of a noticed and open meeting.
Well, and the other aspect of the outreach is, as discussed previous meeting, to happen in a particular prescribed way. So it has to go through the whole, as far as like, yeah, that's how we're gonna approach that, or then, right?
yeah. Well, the way we did it before with just general outreach, I think even before the creation of the report, was that if we thought outreach needed to be done, we moved it to the outreach committee and they performed that and reported back. But it just, attributing it to the committee shows that it was done in an official way, whereas the individual outreach didn't necessarily fit into that kind of structured discussion. It's channeled that way. That makes sense.
Yeah, just during a meeting with Bolden, she seemed to talk about a kind of a meta process of the city in regards to that. So I guess we'll have to look into that.
I just don't know what you mean by meta process, sorry.
Just that, that there was some kind of guidelines or parameters to how we were to interact?
with other commissions and such.
Oh, I think that was about the suggestion to reach out to the deputy clerk of communications and outreach, Jennifer Crossley, because she kind of is doing a lot of work with all the boards and commissions. And so if you want to standardize something, I think the suggestion, when I was looking back at that meeting recording to draft the minutes, I saw the suggestion was, yeah, definitely get in contact with this person whose job is basically to help you through this.
And that technically we're supposed to go through that intermediary.
I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
I don't think
And
we
that's,
have.
I think how it was kind of characterized a couple meetings ago.
I don't think you have to. I think it would make your lives easier.
Yeah, well,
Well, we
obviously,
reached out to her as well.
Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, that is the thing. It seemed like it would become a bit cumbersome and make things delay if we had to, put everything carefully, get through some process before just doing the outreach.
Yeah, but I think
Or
one,
maybe that was relating even more actually to like public outreach. Like we're having that issue with the Sustainability Commission about like social media posts have to go through everybody's.
mm,
Right,
That's why there's no social media present.
yeah.
right,
Like
exactly.
if you were posting on behalf of the commission, and that would make sense. Gathering information, once we standardize a process and make sure it coheres with the rules of the city, I think,
It was also that there was a unified message by the commission to the other entity, the other commission. Rather than that particular person's perspective who's doing the interface.
yeah. And I think that we can balance that, so if we do targeted outreach as a commission and then operate,
Kind of deputize them to have discretion.
yeah. Then we say that it was done through the outreach committee, whereas individual members, so like I attend constituent meetings. And as an individual member, in the individual reports, I could say, I attended this commission or council members meeting, and this came up as a topic that the community members were discussing. And so that wouldn't be as targeted of outreach, but I could still present it in individual reports and you could discuss it at a meeting like this. I guess the difference there would be that we planned this, if we plan the outreach for, housing sustainability, then we can say, we need to talk to these people, or we need to have this meeting. And then we could do that through outreach or the housing.
And so again, we just put into the minutes designating the chairs during this meeting.
Yeah, if unless, I think the way that we should operate, is unless somebody else would like to be the chair of a committee, that we don't have to be formal about the vote.
But yeah, but have it in the record that it's now one again, a new.
Yeah, so I have it in my notes that you volunteered to chair the housing committee at Jason's suggestion, and that the chair of outreach committee is, did you say your name was Sharon?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, got it. Good. Yeah, so that's what I have written down in my notes.
And there is a housing committee folder that's already in the Google Share thing, so we could probably start filling items with that in there. So that sounds good. It looks like the last notes from there is from 2022, however. So.
And we can talk more about those folders. I mean, we've already been referencing them in past meetings, but I put, as we were forming the agenda, I added something to new business so that we can talk about how to operate that way.
Okay.
And also stay within ODL constraints, right? So that we're not all on the same document.
At the
chatting
same
to each other.
time.
Right. So, but thank you for pointing that out, Robert.
Yeah.
So the other one in Item A is the research committee, so that's kind of performing research. Whether that's looking into, so with, going back to the report. One thing we did was we looked into different cities and how what that had forms of alternatives to public safety, to non-police units, and spread out that kind of research. So if we had something and wanted to look into like theoretical models on sustainability, based on some outreach, then the research committee could do that as well. Does that sound like something that is maybe important to some things we want to work on?
Those kind of seems to need to be a component of each of the committees.
The research,
Yes, looking into who to outreach with and what to address with them, and research on housing solutions. And, you know, it's kind of an intrinsic component of each, but
yeah. Well,
yeah, you're talking about another whole committee research
devoted to research.
feed each of those others.
Yeah, and that was one of the perspectives that I had when I first joined the commission, is like, doesn't everything involve
Of
a sense of
research.
research? Yeah, but I guess the alternative is, so like to take the stride visit, for example. So if something came out of there, so like one of the things that I'm spitballing with Sharon afterwards was mental health support. And there's actually a House bill right now trying to secure funding for mental health supports in general for the city. But if we thought it was important to look into that, that wouldn't fit into housing or outreach in general. So it might be good to put together, you know, a smaller report on mental health options in Bloomington, and how that might, something we might suggest to the city council, right? So the research could take that on. We wouldn't necessarily be outreaching in general, but you're right that the research and outreach could work together and some things could overlap. That makes sense. So I guess rather than forcing it, does it make sense to people to keep a separate research and an outreach? Or do you think that there could be one committee, research and outreach, so that we're not having too many committees?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Well, I think you should make sure to understand there's a research component to each of the committees, and maybe they could feed back to a research committee,
okay,
you know, and be fed by that research committee in relation, because actually there are ways that the housing could relate to the mental health thing, because the housing first as the first step, getting people mental health care, living stability, so that they can focus on the mental health, you know, and like there's.
Yeah.
Then the outreach with the other mental health agencies, kind of like, but the real thing is, who's the research head that wants to head that? And with these positions that are opening, if we try to recruit somebody who's a real kind of data person to come in and be the research chair.
what do other people think?
Or Robert, you in that wrong?
I mean, yeah, I think I'm trying to think about how this is all going in efforts with new eyes and not even being, you know, in this committee or in any committee before, and then trying to catch up with what's currently in existence. I mean, it does seem to make sense that each of the committees are going to be doing some kind of research. But I also, in seeing how much, you know, churn that we're having with the current composition of the committee, and then seeing what, you know, committee subcommittees we have had Um. I'm, I'm wondering about us trying to reassess what's here and figuring out a new scope, especially with, a new Indiana administration, a new national administration, and all of the executive orders.
Orders.
Yeah, how much, what is our, I feel like our scope is gonna be changing and very rapidly.
Well,
Right.
it's a central component of tax commission
Mhm,
being research
mhm.
toward the advising. Research as the basis for the advising, so it's pretty core to the whole thing, and to not even have one going is kind of not in line with that.
Mhm.
And again, it's sort of a macro one. Be feeding into these different components and topics.
Yeah.
But that takes kind of particular personality
right?
Yeah,
and the devotion,
Yeah. What we could also do, because we talked about, the constraints of not having seats filled, maybe not having a person who's, a data head. We could start by lumping research and outreach and then separate that if we get somebody who's interested. We start doing that work and people on that committee decide, well, there is separation. And we could all, at the next meeting of the whole, we could form that committee.
I can see that. And then we'd be touching base on it at each committee reports and everything like that.
Right.
Yeah, because part of that research is to outreach to the city council and mayor.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and in terms of trying to coordinate meetings, and not demand too much time from everybody, that might make sense. So I guess what we would be deciding in this meeting, making that a lumped committee, is trusting that they will make good decisions and report back to us. Does that make sense?
So also, as far as composition of these committees, besides the chair, we declare that who's gonna participate in each committee.
Yeah. And we could turn to that now.
So you're talking about outreach and research remaining a committee, that being the chair and mayor.
Yes.
Oh, wait a minute. So I would sort of be a chair for all outreach?
You would just coordinate what the committee wants to do in terms of outreach. You wouldn't have to direct that. Whoever is on the committee would have to volunteer. But you would just kind of mediate the discussion in the committee.
But wait a minute. So are we talking about the committee to collaborate with this other commission, or for all the committees within us? All the committees and within CAS commission?
Yeah, so the outreach would be to outside the,
She thought she was volunteering to just be on a committee to reach out to the other committee, right? You didn't
Yeah,
realize
the
that,
Hispanic committee.
yeah,
Not,
and
Not
we,
necessarily wanting.
and we signed you up for the,
Not necessarily wanting to be
Yeah.
the chair.
oh,
like
I
a
didn't
totally
know
different.
that.
well, you can start with a smaller approach like that. We don't have to take on everything that the commission is doing outreach for all of the stuff.
No, I guess I
That's-
could. I mean, right now,
That's again, why the kind of research committee, it seems kind of be the macro that.
But what we've done in the past is discussed as a whole what kind of research we want to do.
Do.
Yeah, and then the committee decides on what they want to focus on. Because we have a lot of good ideas, and that's one thing I wanted to kind of discuss in this meeting is we have a lot of good ideas, especially from the Stride meeting. But it's like, what do we want to focus on that we think is will direct our energy versus trying to do 7 things that is going to split us up and not produce anything.
Well, that's not necessarily how that has to go. Just a comprehensive integrated scenario that when research is compiled, it's directed to the appropriate other entity and thing. Like, I'd be interested to chair a research committee proper as far as sparking it. I have an idea of someone that I could possibly recruit to apply for the commission on another commission that I know is a data person. So, yeah. She didn't want to do the outreach like she proposed and not get cut into all this other, whereas I think this is pretty important and central. And it, it's also part of what I'm doing with the housing committee. Pulling in this information of other models. Stats.
So far we have 2. If I do go to the meeting for the Hispanic Commission, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Then I would be a committee to do that. And then there's a housing committee, right? That maybe needs to be reinvigorated. So there's 2.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got the 3 listed here: outreach, research, housing.
Well, those aren't committees, are they?
Yeah, that's where we're, the whole business thing.
The commission has, at this point, it looks like the commission has at least 2, if not 3 standing committees. Housing committee, which was created, but technically recreated last time. The outreach committee, which has been the same. The research committee stopped meeting at some point, so it kind of went almost, I don't know if it considered itself still active or meeting, because it stopped meeting almost maybe over a year ago. So, at this point, I mean, there are still outreach committee meetings. And I noticed on our calendar, I think one of my questions I had was, do we still need to have those on the calendar because they've been canceled? And I want to make sure we know when you guys are meeting, when we need to put up the required notices.
So you're saying there are scheduled committee meetings listed somewhere?
Yes.
Yes, because we were still
As
meeting.
in like regular monthly? So
Yes.
you guys-
Yes.
The outreach committee was meeting monthly on the 3rd Wednesday.
Which one?
The outreach committee was meeting monthly on the 3rd Wednesday. That's still noticed on the calendar for February 19th. I think the one for this month was canceled. So that came off the calendar. Yep, that was canceled. Because I think, I don't know the full details because obviously I wasn't involved.
Najla was in charge of the research committee, but she left
Yeah.
the commission because she's in grad school and really busy with her life. And so once she was gone, we didn't have the research committee anymore.
Yeah, the outreach as well. I think she
Or
was.
the outreach, sorry.
Yeah.
So I can do that. That's fine.
Okay.
Because right now it doesn't seem like there's so much going on. I can.
And so you see that is February 19th when you're scheduled for your next one?
And that can change.
Right.
I just want to know.
That's.
When do you want to
No, it's already,
Yeah, it's already as, third
It's a
Wednesday.
leftover hold, basically.
So the first thing we want to do in reforming or forming these committees is to decide, 1, who wants to be on the committee, and then the chairs would coordinate scheduling. So you'd see when people are available to meet.
And by the laws, we have to post it.
Right.
Within the 48 hours. So what I kind of want to know right now, from the commission is do you want me to keep that hold on the room for the 3rd Wednesday from 4 to 5:30, or is that something, because we can hold the room, but of course, other commissions meet, other entities meet. So if the room is open and available for folks to reserve, if you know that the outreach committee doesn't have a schedule yet, I'd love to take that hold off.
And well, that hold is by the CAPS commission, not the committee.
I put the hold on as staff, so I put the hold on the room as city staff and then notice it as an outreach committee meeting.
Let's keep it on the schedule for now,
Okay.
February 19th at 4 p.m.
Is there a way to broaden the timescale there to include the housing committee within the same block?
Good idea.
Depends on, do you meet at the same?
Like an hour before or after?
It's just about room reservations. Let me look and see.
Yeah, if you want to meet with the housing committee at the same time, we can either all meet at 4 and split up in different parts of the room, or
Well,
One of us
yeah,
will go
that would be
forward,
the
one
other
at
thing,
4:30.
try to do it simultaneously, but. Also,
But if-
with this,
Somebody
These
wants
aren't-
to be on two groups, they can't go to both meetings at the same time.
okay, so 1 at 4, 1 at 4:30, but we
Yeah.
still have the room.
that's what I'm saying, and then, are those to be recorded? Then they're not to be recorded except by whatever minutes taken.
Yeah, there's no requirement for those to be recorded. And in the past, we've opted to not have them be recorded, especially since we're discussing ideas that are in formation. They're still open to the public. So the public could attend and take notes, and individually share what we're talking about, as part of the open door philosophy. But no, they're not recorded and posted unless we opt to have them done that way.
Oh, yes.
So the McCloskey room on February 19th is open at 3 o'clock. There are, sorry to interrupt, it's open after 12 p.m. until the hold that you have at 4 p.m.
So basically, it's open from 3 to 5:30, and we could reserve that hour at 3,
Yeah,
but I
yeah,
don't know.
I
if
could
that's
hold it
gonna
at 3.
be-
Yeah, we'll call it 3 o'clock, the housing committee, and then 4 o'clock. the Outreach. Yep. I figured it kind of keep it
Perfect.
set up all these different committee schedulings to keep track of.
Yeah, so we can hold that, and then what I would suggest is to reach out to any member who wants to be on the committee to say, do we want to continue to hold this, or is anybody not available? Right. So we could stick with, so since we're on the discussion of committees, do we want to go through each committee and see who wants to be a part of it?
Yeah, I think so, so it's not just a person.
Sure.
The housing committee is at 3,
Yeah,
who wants to have people?
well, I would be interested in the housing committee.
Yeah, being on Beacon, you're kind of in
Yeah,
there.
that's my dissertation where like that is the prime reason I joined this commission.
I
Anybody
will.
else? Tammy as well?
Spell out your name for me again.
Like-
Pamela Brown.
Oh, okay,
Like the former presidential candidate.
yeah, I see, yeah, Cammy, so.
Okay, AMI for Cammy.
Yes, what is
Yeah.
it, Sparks?
Brown Sparks,
Brown
Brown
Sparks.
dash Sparks. Common spellings.
Alrighty, housing committee already got a committee.
Anybody else want to join? And if you don't want to commit to being an official member, you can still come to the meeting. So,
Be interested in participating with the outreach thereafter.
all right. So Zero wants to be. Do you want to be an official member?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's gonna be pretty crucial to things as well.
Zero will be on the outreach.
Outreach.
Yeah. Cammy, you want to be? Yeah. So, Cammy Brown Sparks.
Are we keeping our scope with just the 3 that are listed in old business right now, or are we looking at other committees as well?
That's a good question.
Because that's, yeah,
do we want to form another committee?
Well, that research, I think we should form the research,
Yeah.
the third one,
Okay.
or reform, and, then that would feed what the next other committees are
Mhm.
happening, I would think.
Yeah,
Would you be
Because
willing
a
to
lot
chair
of it
that?
being in relation to the current legislative shift in the state and at the federal level is gonna designate a few populations and
Right.
so.
So what, Tony, the other committee you're thinking about?
And actually, she said since noon, it'd be a jam-packed day.
Mhm.
Thinking maybe 2 o'clock for the research.
That we're gonna vote for on February 19th?
That's outreach.
Oh,
3 o'clock is housing. And so I'm saying, we could cluster it and, decide then whether it's gonna stay that way or not, which probably won't, but.
Yeah, if there's availability.
But to get a definitive something here, and give us a few weeks leading up to it,
Sure.
and while there is a space available.
so just as a review, did somebody already volunteer to chair the research committee?
Yeah,
That was you?
yeah,
And I would,
at first,
yeah, and I would be happy to join up as a member with that then, so at least we've got. Because. I think, in looking at our drive and how many committees we have and how much churn we've had.
and we're
And
gonna have-
how everything's changing with the different administrations, I think
Yeah.
it would be important to.
and we're gonna be getting some new members. So if we can kind of direct,
To have those.
so are you thinking,
recruit research people.
Yeah.
Zero, are you thinking that, you're, being chair of the research committee is temporary and you're looking for something?
Yeah, I mean, I can share it, until. Somebody that's maybe a little more
Yeah,
data max.
and once we form them and the committees meet, you can decide, or you can decide in the committee if you want to switch.
Yeah, I'm looking to try to get somebody recruited in by then to maybe step into that.
Yeah.
If they're, depending on the time scale of council actually approving new applicants.
But in the interim, you would take point on scheduling and directing conversation.
Yeah, and that way, right now here, all this can be publicly posted.
Yeah. So you were suggesting earlier in the day?
Yeah, I'll be there from 2 to 5:30 for each of these three. It's easier way to knock it out in a day to me anyway.
Yeah, it makes
than try
sense.
to, oh, wait a minute, that's today.
Right, but then we'd have to ask Ash if there's a room available.
He said it was noon till the 5:30, so.
Yeah, I will do a hold from 2 to 3 for the research on the 19th as well. We do it right, so that means next one.
Yeah.
And
So I know we have like the committees. Kind of split up by the bylaws for the old business, and we still have new business, so, if we want to move forward, or if we feel like the discussion of committees is complete.
So
Do we do?
so we can move on to the discussion of bylaws. Thank you, Robert.
It looks like at least the draft bylaws that I believe that we tried to refer to. The one that says at the heading, based on Bloomington Commission on the status of women. I think we talked about last time that people were gonna try and comment, or at least look it over, and it does not look like any activity has happened on that yet.
Yeah.
So, I would like, I mean, it sounds like it's pretty important for us to actually adopt that.
Yeah.
So I would kind of move that we try to,
will that that draft has all kinds of, things that don't apply, numbers and.
The municipal code sections match now. It
Did they?
comports with ours, which honestly, I thought that was my homework last time, but some magical being went in and did that. Or I don't know, someone went in and I double checked and,
I'm reviewing that.
Yeah.
except for the title, obviously based on Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women, but that's just based on, but when we're talking about the section, like the actual substantive content of the draft bylaws, it comports with our founding ordinance, municipal code
As
section,
far as the number of members,
according to the municipal code.
so that was revised down. So there was some high number, 11 or something.
Right, but if
I still see
pull up
that.
the-
as
Yeah,
11.
municipal code,
Okay,
it still says that, unless I'm looking at the wrong version, but I believe it's the correct one. Let's see.
are you?
Yeah, 212, 120 C. The commission shall be composed of 11 voting members, and although that's not what we have, that's just what the code section states.
I was sure, yeah, it's actually. There's the transformation.
There was also the situation that if we needed to coordinate with liaison or someone about whatever we're coming up with, jiving with the broader, the city policy. I mean, aside from the setting statute,
What was that?
like, seemingly there's some parameters, I don't know, I guess we would devise them and then we have to pass it by legal or something.
So if you want to create and test bylaws, you can. I think it sounds like you've been discussing this for a while. I can assist with that if you'd like my help. I've done that in the past with some of the things, Cast Commission has passed. Like resolutions and things like that. So, yeah, if you want to have me look things over, and help you with that, that's fine. Or, I know it sounds like you all are working on that in the Google Drive and want to bring it to a future meeting. If you've got, those documents ready, just make sure I know so I can put it in the packet.
Yeah, it's just the thing, if we could come up with something that technically wouldn't be recognized as far as city policy or something.
Yeah, I think the issue last time was just making sure that it doesn't conflict with the Bloomington Municipal Code. I think the one thing folks were talking about was like the seats, the number of seats. And that's not something that you can change in your bylaws. Even if you try to change it in your bylaws, that it's not gonna matter. You can say we have 9 seats, but the municipal code says 11. And until the municipal code changes, doesn't matter if the bylaws say 9, it's gonna still be 11.
And I double checked and the draft bylaws do comport with our section of the municipal code. Now, if your question is, does our section of the municipal code comport with all other sections of the Indiana law? That's a greater question, and that is not our problem.
Until it becomes a suit or something, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm not seeing the document where you're seeing it matching, right?
Looks like the
You're
other,
on it right now. I can see you on it.
Yeah, so I'm highlighting the 11 right now then.
Correct.
Okay. I'm not seeing where it got changed to 8
No, it cannot be changed to 8
or,
because the municipal code calls for 11 members. So
Got it.
just because we want it to be 8, and because we are 8.
Yeah.
That's what Ash was saying.
Oh.
We can't just unilaterally change something that's enforceable. Or I mean, that's already been dictated by our Indiana or Bloomington legislature.
and that would maybe be another, item to possibly put before the council to lower that number.
Right.
Yeah.
So the bylaws as they are written now comport with the laws applicable and to us. And so what I'm saying is we don't need to change the bylaws. We could change the laws. And so I don't know, motion to council to
is that issue of reaching the quorum.
Bill or however that works at this
Yeah,
level.
when
An
that,
ordinance.
when that number remains higher and if the seats aren't filled, then the problem with the quorum.
That is something that the council in the past actually came the special committee on council processes reached out to all boards and commissions asking if, you know, you wanted to make changes to the local code governing your sections. I think at the time, members didn't want to change anything, but if you actually want to change something, I would recommend probably reaching out to Jennifer Crossley, who's kind of that liaison now with her position, especially if you want to reduce seats. I think she's kind of in the loop with folks about thinking about reducing seats. I would suggest not putting the number of seats in your bylaws because the bylaws can't control it anyway, so why put it in there? Yeah, so.
Oh, that doesn't have to be in our bylaws?
Well, in
That's what I was
relation
gonna
to
say.
quorum,
Suggest, there are a lot of, in my opinion, unnecessary specifications that could get us in trouble, exactly like this. So the first sentence of a lot of our bylaws is, for example, BMC section 2A20 or its successors specify attendance requirements. That is, in my opinion, should be where that sentence and section ends. Because when we specify it and lay out what we are currently reading in the bylaws, for example, 11 voting members, anytime that changes, then we also have to, enter into a situation where our bylaws are conflicting with the current law on the topic. And so if we just say this section needs to comport with this code section in the bylaws, that speaks for itself. It's sufficient under the law, and that can be more fluid if we wanted to change it. I just think that that's a cleaner way of writing bylaws and contracts and whatnot, in my opinion.
Maybe there should be a bylaws committee.
well,
That seemed like too big of a comment to put on every single one of these, so I was just waiting until this discussion to make that suggestion to our draft bylaws. If others agree, or if they don't agree, I'd be interested to hear.
and then there's the issue of removing members not attending.
Right, that's a specific section. But I just think as a whole, like the whole bylaws should be a little bit more, I don't want to say vague, but direct.
Pared down, yes.
Direct to point to the exact municipal code section that governs that bylaw section, and that way it can be good. And on that note, if with a certain section, I don't think we necessarily should, just because we have less members now, in a perfect future, we would like more members. And I think the more the merrier and the more people involved. So I think it's unnecessary to change the law, as long as we're not breaching, our ability to function and exist. I would vote against moving the council to change the code on the number of voting members.
I'd say this mainly affects the quorum and ability to operate. That has been a problem for some time, right?
Right, but the
That,
quorum section just says by the majority. It doesn't specify a number. It doesn't say.
Yeah,
six.
adopting bylaws doesn't change our quorum necessities. That's how many members have been appointed by the city council.
Exactly. So if we went to the quorum section, it would just be, unless otherwise specified, majority of the members serving on the board, commission, or council.
and there's a talk about in person.
That's guided by ODL.
Yeah.
Yeah, the open door laws. I'm conscious of the constraints of our time. So it sounds like we still have some concerns that should be changed. Do we want to put this off again? And actually devote time to changing these between now and next time?
Yeah, with the target of actually codifying it next meeting.
Yes.
Because I think that sounds right, as long as we'll be responsible, myself included, to comment on this, and to make those changes.
Yeah, cause I still have questions about the number of people we're required to have and.
I think we just delete that from the bylaws and then it would be a non-issue.
Okay, but, well, no, that's not true because,
It depends on whether there's kind of some fallow members.
no, because the Bloomington Municipal Code.
The Bloomington Municipal Code exists beyond our reach and it governs this no matter what. So our bylaws, I don't think should just recite the municipal code, because then if the municipal codes ever change, then our bylaws would conflict with it. And I think our bylaws, instead of reciting the code, should just cite the code. If that makes sense.
Therefore, we will comport with city policy.
But that takes precedence, right?
I'm confused.
The Bloomington Municipal Code takes precedence over our.
Of course, and that's why,
And if we divide something a little different, it might.
if we didn't put anything in our bylaws about a certain topic governing us, it would still govern us. For example, the 11 voting members, if we just deleted that whole sentence, we are still by law allowed to have 11 voting members. Regardless of our own internal bylaws, because that's the code.
And so I guess that's sort of part of this collaborating on documents that's under new business here, as far as like expediting the rest of this, jumping right to stride.
Yeah. Yeah, do we want to spend, so there's two things, and so I'm not suggesting that this is what we're going to do, but there's two things that I would like to accomplish before we adjourn, which is to elect another co-chair, and then to talk about collaborating on documents, because it sounds like we'll need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even though I'd like to just be able to discuss the stride thing, I don't even know that I would feel that we could substantively talk about that in 10 minutes.
And then, yeah, we have to devise the agenda for the next meeting.
Well, one
Yes.
thing could be the bylaws and the strivers.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so for the topic suggestions for the future agenda, that's just asking general members to suggest them. But part of what we've been doing, the co-chairs, identify the items or look over the agenda, and try and take a first pass, and then they could open it up to the rest of the commission for suggestions for amendments. But we always do that at the beginning, right? So, approval of the agenda where you can modify it. So the topic suggestions is just brainstorming if we didn't discuss anything substantively, but I think we can all agree that we have been having substantive discussions. So since we moved, since I just suggested a co-chair, would it be all right if we move to that?
Second.
Is anybody interested in being a co-chair? And so what would be required for that is just ahead of the next meeting. Sometimes there's an initial draft of the agenda, and our liaison would reach out and say, this is what we have. How would you like to amend this? Or does this look good?
Do co-chairs discuss that?
Right, and the co-chairs could discuss it. The other thing is doing what I'm doing and making sure that we're running through the meeting. But as we've seen, we're all kind of looking up
So
at
can we nominate somebody to force them into it?
I will volunteer.
I'm gonna say Robert.
All right, Robert, is anybody else interested? All right.
Yes, overextended, impossible.
You're a better person than me. Right, so I would like to make it official, or to do an official vote, just so that Robert feels like he's supported. Or we both feel that they're supported.
Motion to vote. Robert as co-chair.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Second.
So we'll go around. Todd,
Yes.
Aaron,
I,
Yay.
Yeah.
Robert.
Aye.
You.
For myself.
Yay.
big plot
Yes.
twist.
I will vote yes too. So unanimously, you're now officially bound as the co-chair. So we're yoked
We
together.
are, yeah,
Is there-
we are in this
Is there a
together.
term for that, or you just, until you get tired of
90
doing it?
days.
No, so no,
3 months, right?
Yeah.
Or is it 6?
Hmm.
3 or 6?
We shifted it, I think Sharon, or I think Colleen was wondering or. and-
It changed a couple times. I don't remember if it changed back, but at one point it was 3 months, then it was 6 months.
we want to define that in the box,
It might still be 6 months.
or if it's, unless it's somewhere else, yeah.
We can shift that in our minds. And then, so then the discussion on collaborating on documents. So what we've heard so far is that the ODL constrains it, so we can't be in the same document at the same time. Because then that would constitute meeting of sorts.
Needs to die.
So,
Well,
so I guess we could say, like, if you open the document and somebody else is in it, then you could message them and tell them to get out. Or ask them when they'll be out. But just making sure that we're not in the same document at the same time.
I apologize. I have a tendency to have like 10,000 emotional support tabs, and so I may be in the document forever.
Yeah.
So just tell me.
So it looks like you're in it, as long as it's on your computer.
Yeah, if we're using a Google document.
You literally have
You
to
need
X
that,
out.
yeah.
It'll show if you're active as well. So if you have the tab open, but you're not actually using it, it'll show kind of like a haze over your icon rather than an active symbol. I think I actually, when I saw this as an item on your agenda, I kind of looked back and found some of the discussions I had with the public access counselor about Google Drive to kind of give you a bit more context. The reason why this was a thing was because there was an opinion issued by the public access counselor back in 2023 that basically a governing body tried to get around the open door law by having a Google document open and talking about what they were going to vote on. And he was like, you're trying to get around the open door law. This is a violation. I called him because some of the stuff in that opinion were basically saying governing bodies can't use Google Drive. And I was kind of freaking out because I was like, oh, we already have Google Drive. What's going on? He said, it's okay. You can have Google Drive as long as you're not trying to use it as a simultaneous mechanism to communicate by basically saying, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. I want to deliberate here. I want to vote here, but not actually take votes, just be secret about it. That is a violation. So, you know, if it's used for informational purposes, as long as it's not used as a way to get around the open door law and make your decisions outside of the public eye. So if it, you know, if you and one other person are in there, that's probably fine. If all 8 of you are in there trying to do something, that's a problem.
Sounds like a good legal gray area.
It is
To-
because
to
technology.
So I have a more basic question. How do I get to the Google Drive? I don't even know.
It's in an email. We got a link. If
Yeah.
you just search your email, caps Google Drive.
If you're
You
signed,
should have permissions.
sign into your email account that you're.
That I
That's sent to
use.
here, if it,
Right.
yeah, and then go to drive.google.com.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
sign into that.
That could be, I have like 10,000
right?
Google Drives.
Yeah.
So if you have
Oh, I mean,
access to more than one,
But there's one that'll say the shared, there's a tab that says shared with you,
right?
Yeah.
right? And then it'll be right there.
Perfect.
I mean, I have a second that says
But they-
shared drive.
That's one I would I don't know. Just click the same link every time, it'll bring it to the same place.
Um, so it sounds like by the next meeting, it sounds like as long as we're not all there at the same time, or at least hitting a quorum while we're commenting, we can do that. And then,
As long as you're not responding to the comments saying, how do we take down the city?
yeah,
Oh, this is how we do it.
right. But
It's
then,
mostly, how are we gonna vote on this? What are we gonna do at a meeting
yeah,
that we are supposed to be doing at a public meeting?
Yeah.
So,
So it sounds like we have a whole month for all of us here to take a look and make either suggestions. I mean, I think that there's a suggesting mode.
There is, it's kind of like track changes,
Yeah.
or kind of Google Drive's version of track changes.
So then if we all do at least suggestions by the next meeting, we should be able to look at the suggestions and then.
But that, I mean, yeah, it's unlikely then we'll have a product to go on by the next meeting unless we wanted to take the time to go through every person's suggestion. But I guess I'm anticipating more suggestions than perhaps we would receive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and a suggestion can be as global as trimming, you know, like what you were suggesting. And then if we voted to affirm that, then that would then be a big change, because we've all voted for that. And then
Right.
make the actual change from there. Right?
And if I wanna, Ash, if I wanna ask the volunteers to help with something with Stride Center, can I do that over email? Is that the way?
Yeah, I mean, you're allowed to, email is a public record, so it's requestable as a public record. Open door issues are less of a problem for email unless, again, you're trying to use it as a simultaneous mechanism to communicate, which is much harder to do than in a Google document. But if it's like you're trying to hold a meeting over email, then that might be a problem, but email is usually just considered a public record that can be requested rather than an open door issue.
No, it wouldn't be.
Only the communications relevant to this commission.
Correct. Yeah, so it's not necessarily about, whether it's on a personal or a work type of email. It's about, you know, whether it is the business involving the governing body that you are on. So that's why I tell people to not send it in text messages, because if you accidentally delete a text message relevant to the commission, it could be a problem. But it's about, you know, the content. So,
Assuming anything matters.
I would hope.
Okay. So did we miss anything else we wanted to talk about?
Just topics for next.
Yeah.
Next meeting.
And so the things we didn't necessarily dig into were housing advocacy concerns, which would continue. I think, well, we talked about the Joe Davis stuff, but then that's something that can be picked up.
Yeah.
We could also scratch that, or we could make the decision right now to move that to the housing committee.
Yeah.
To report. Okay.
And then
You know,
that'll be report from the housing committee at the next meeting.
Right.
I'm also wondering if we were gonna follow up on our guest speaker, our guest, what was his name?
Yeah. In what he said about public housing.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's what one thing I was thinking there.
maybe that would also be another.
In the
issue.
housing? Yeah. Do we want to make a motion to move that to the housing committee and have them report back to us? Then the discussion, and anybody who wants to discuss it can go
I'm
to that
very
meeting.
curious to follow up on that, find out
For sure.
what's happening.
Yeah, apparently he got an article, I think in the IBS or something.
I think I saw that. So I motion to move housing advocacy concerns to the housing committee.
A second. Third.
I,
Get to go around.
Yeah.
Todd?
Yes.
Aaron?
Yes.
Zero?
I,
Sharon? Robert? Damon?
Aye.
And I will say yes too. So that's moved there. The other one is the discussion of the Stride visit, which we can touch on next time. Unless we want to move that to a committee too. No, we need the discussion
Yeah,
in general.
A second.
So Robert and I will make sure that's included on the next agenda. And so we can skip that topic of suggestions. Does anybody want a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All-
You're adjourned, you don't need to vote.
Okay. We're adjourned.